Phulwari is actually famous for its Khanka. So Phulwari was a religious town. And Muslims were predominantly Muslims in those days in that town, and this was called a Khanka. They used to have the Khanka there. What Khanka means that this was a family. Okay, it passes on from one family to the other. So in Khanka used to be sort of a religious, not really, yeah, it was a religious seminary, not really, you may call it a seminary, yeah, where they used to have the teachings for the elders. Older people used to go and get the instructions about Quran and Hadith and stuff. Well, like I said, I was very young, so it was at that age we could sense the disturbance. It's funny, it's amazing how humans change. Then the partition, the feeling of separation started to creep in. For whatever the reason, maybe it's something either religious or whatever, because religion is one of the most strong among all the ethnic relations, I mean, you can do a lot of things on the basis of religion. Immediate neighborhood, there was not much difference in those days. In fact, there was not much difference, but it was usually in the bigger places, because the speeches, the hate speeches and whatever you want to call it, was much more visible in the bigger cities than in the smaller towns. It was very good. It was very good relationship. Yeah. I mean, there was no lot of Hindu women used to come and spend time with my mother. And in the Diwali and Holi, they used to send us meat and sweet and stuff. I remember going to the Holi. There were people living in the neighborhood who were Hindus, so that doesn't mean anything. If they are Hindus or Hindu and Muslim, they were living next door to each other. And the Diwali, everyone was out in the field doing Diwali and stuff. Or Holi was actually more fun for us because we were kids, and we were playing with the color, throwing colors at each other. So that was, there was no, and they used to come to us and eat and stuff. Of course, they didn't go to the mosque to pray, but after the prayer, they used to come and, sit with us, socialize, and have nice lunch, dinner, what have you. In fact, some of my relatives were also killed in other village. So there was, and some of the people in our own village at the outskirts, they were also killed. So we had to leave. There was no other choice. We left in 47, and maybe about 6 months or a year prior to that, this attacks started. Right in that part of province, about 4 or 6 months prior to this, when we actually had to move. Gathering of about 20-25 people. So we all left Phulwari Sharif at one time. And then from Phulwari Sharif we came to Patna. And the way it happened was that we had some friends, like Hindu friends, they actually arranged for our coming to Patna. Because we were, things were very rough those days. So they actually came with us to Patna, and then they stayed with us till we got into the train. It was I remember a lot of, feeling that, oh, you guys have to leave and so on and so forth. So then we got into the train, and then from Patna, we came to Calcutta. They used to have these trains, So my mamu, he thought of something which worked. They had a door on this side and there on the other side. So one door, and then they had the door and the windows. So on this door he wrote down reserved, which means that people will see it and think that this is some big shots are going in that, and then they will, sort of stay away from this, not crowd it too much, because not many people try to cram in, because sometimes, people used to pull up. If you are weak, they pull you out of there and, get in the train. So that was also happening. It was an awful feeling, it was just horrible. It's hard to describe even. And I think it did a stop over someplace overnight. Some people took a bath also, I remember, because there was this, not really, I think they had a well or something, yeah. Some of the stations they used to just bypass, it didn't stop in bigger stations as well, because of the feeling of this, that if they stop, then maybe the train will be attacked or something. So that's why they used to stop in remote areas if they had to stop. It was pretty green all the way along, I remember. It was all green, very, very green areas. Prior to Bombay, also, all the way from Calcutta to Bombay, it was all green. I remember that one. So I remember Muzaffer Khana was also pretty big, huge Muzaffer Khana. And in the middle of the Muzaffer Khana, they had a pond. I remember they had these fishes also in that pond. Anyway, so it was 3 stories. The Muzaffer Khana was 3 stories, and it was also like all around. There was a big pond in the middle, which had the pool, and then there is big huge courtyard and these rooms all around it. And the rooms upstairs about 2 or 3 stories, yeah. The small rooms, they were very small rooms and a veranda. So they had about maybe 300 rooms, 250, 300 rooms. So we were staying in the Muzaffer Khana, and we stayed there for maybe about 2 weeks or so, to when we can get the ship. A lot of ships were coming, but it was difficult to get in the ship as well. Why did she come to West? Because she thought that there is not more opportunity in the West. She thought there is less population in Karachi. Karachi is a port city, so she thought that it will develop and grow. And she was of the opinion that you always go to a place where there is land and water. So land and water, they both were there. So it was a port city. That was main consideration which she had, that is a port city, so it has to grow. And especially it's a new country, so the port will develop eventually. And that was, she told us afterwards. We also asked this question, why not here? Some of our relatives went to East Pakistan, why didn't we come here? Go there, we would have more support network. So she decided that, we will come to West Pakistan. And that was a good decision she made. So these sheds were where we used to sleep. We sleep on the floor. You don't have any bed or anything. So all the women folks used to sleep in one. There was sort of a small area located for one family. Not really one family, but let's say like we were 10 or 12 in our family. Then there were people next to us in that camp. They were not from Bihar, but they were from some places. But they all had this same, common feeling and common problems and common whatever. So they used to help each other, of course. And all the women used to sleep in one line, and the men used to sleep in another line. So that's how the camp was. And of course there was no bathroom and stuff. There was a toilet quite a ways. And then we stayed there in the camp for a while, and then there was we went to this other place, which was the vacant quarters. The government had constructed, Sindh government had constructed some quarters for the people. Well, the comfort of life, comfort in a sense in those days, comfort was much more there, especially for my mother and my sisters, because they were older, they knew the difference much more so than I did. And now when we came to Karachi, we used to sleep on the sidewalk as well, because it was such a small apartment, So myself, I used to sleep under the stairs. They had the stairs, and then there was a small place. And my brothers used to sleep on the thing. And some of the older folks, my mamu and stuff, they used to sleep on the sidewalk. They had a sort of a mat and a pillow. You put it on the sidewalk, and then you footpath. But everyone, no one, just the feeling of, like I said, feeling of being survival was enough to compensate for the inconvenience that you had to go through.